Catholics, Jason Adkins from the Minnesota Catholic Conference here with my colleague Maggie Hange. We're coming to you from St. Paul to talk about the first week of session. This first week of the legislative session opened with a flurry. We've already had over 1,000 bills introduced. It's been quite a pace. The legislative session is scheduled to run through May 20th. There are legislative deadlines on March 22nd, meaning bills have to be heard in committees in both houses and have received favorable action if they're going to be moving forward in the process. So there's already a lot going on. We're keeping track of a lot of issues, some that come to the forefront and we wanted to share with you. First, the proposal to legalize physician-assisted suicide. The Minnesota Catholic Conference and its allies in the Alliance for Ethical Healthcare have been battling against assisted suicide for 10 years now. 10 successive years a piece of legislation has been introduced. But because we've had a broad, bipartisan, and diverse coalition talking about especially how the assisted suicide legalization would impact those who are vulnerable and those with disabilities, it lacks safeguards, and is really a dangerous and risky proposal. We've had good luck building bipartisan opposition to that. You may have heard or seen in the news that both legislative leaders, Speaker Hortman and Senate Majority Leader Aaron Murphy, said they were skeptical that it had the legislative support to pass this year. So that was really 2 steps forward for us in our coalition, and we were excited to hear that. We're simply not going to relent. We're going to keep talking to legislators, and we encourage all Catholics to speak out, contact their legislators about that issue. We took 1 step backward when Governor Walz said that a bill to legalize physician-assisted suicide was something he'd like to see. So we need to do more work with the governor, convincing him that this is something that will impact the vulnerable, that expanding the choices for some will endanger the healthcare choices of the rest of us. Maggie and I had a productive meeting this week with Commissioner Paul Marquardt, he's the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue, about the implementation of the new state child tax credit. We think that's going to be a game changer for Minnesota families and really put money back into their pockets. Why? Because Minnesota families are doing the most important work of raising the next generation. So we talked with him about how that child tax credit is going to be implemented and opportunities for growing that tax credit deeper into the middle class. And that's really a signature initiative of the Minnesota Catholic Conference's Families First project, and something that we're excited to see pass, and we'll continue to advertise to our Minnesota Catholics so they take advantage of it, and at the same time grow that tax credit in future sessions.
Yeah, it was just such a great meeting with the commissioner. The child tax credit was one giant step for our Families First project, but we don't want to stop there. We've been working on other bills such as a state sales tax exemption on necessary baby products. We talked with him about that, and just some other ideas that we can continue to put forward and hope to see passed in the coming years to help families in Minnesota be able to get married, stay married, raise their kids in a financially economic household. So we are continuing to look at how can we help families, what ideas do we have, what ideas is the legislators putting forward that maybe we can jump on board with as well. Given we have 1,000 bills to look through, we hope that there's some good ones for families in there.
So people can learn more about the Families First project at our website, familiesfirstproject.com, or our website, mncatholic.org. Maggie, what else happened this week?
Yeah, there was 2 other, so a lot of people come to the Capitol to make their voices heard. 2 groups in particular came to the Capitol during the first week of session. One was a group that is in favor of passing the Equal Rights Amendment, ERA in Minnesota, but we are calling instead the Erosion of Rights Amendment. So they were making their voice heard, and we were there meeting with legislators to clarify and talk about that issue. And another group that was at the Capitol was pushing for a fertility mandate in all insurance plans, another bill that we've talked about in the past and we are opposing. So again, talking with legislators about what this really means and the slippery slope that could happen if this bill passes.
What we see in a lot of the legislation is 2 competing visions of human flourishing and human freedom, and Maggie has highlighted 2 bills, the Equal Rights Amendment, the so-called Equal Rights Amendment, and the insurance fertility mandate for fertility coverage. And what we see is, instead of proposing bills that promote human flourishing and the common good, we see a better way. And the church is always there proposing a better vision of the common good, proposing the natural family and defending religious freedom. We think both the fertility coverage insurance mandate and the Equal Rights Amendment threaten that. And obviously, people who struggle with infertility, that's a real challenge, but using assisted reproductive technology, surrogacy, IVF procedures are not a way in which young people and children flourish, and we need to help promote ways in which we can address the medical problem of infertility, at the same time do so in an ethical way. Using unethical means to promote that, though, is not a good path forward, and it's a threat to religious liberty, which is why we're opposing that. So it's important that Catholics stay on top of these issues. Of course, there's always more on our website at mncatholic.org. Again, that's mncatholic.org. Not only can you learn more about these issues, but there's a way to monitor what bills are being addressed at the Capitol, who your legislator is, what bills the Minnesota Catholic Conference is taking a position on, and most importantly, the Catholic Advocacy Network is your best way of taking action and sending a message to your legislator on these and other important issues. Thanks so much for joining us this week here at the Capitol, and we'll be back next week with another Minnesota Catholic Conference legislative update. Thanks so much. God bless your day.